They told you education is the key. They said, go to school. But why are so many graduates purposeless and jobless? On EduShift, we spot the cracks. We challenge the educational system. Torn between science, arts, and commerce, we bring clarity and answers to your questions, and we light up the path for a generation ready to stand out. Come enjoy discussions with educators, employers, and counselors. Let us fix this problem of career misalignment and help you discover yourself. EduShift, only on Global TV.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of EduShift, where we help you shift towards education that aligns with purpose. I am your host, Priscilla Obasi, and remember, this is where we shift conversations, shape the future through education that aligns with purpose. Today, I want you to listen not just as a viewer, but as a parent, a future parent, a student, or even a policy maker, because this conversation touches something deeply personal. I'm sure every single Nigerian will relate to it. Our topic is expensive education, rethinking education funding and quality in Nigeria. Now let me paint a picture for you. It's early morning in Abuja. A mother is sitting at the edge of her bed, staring at her phone. She just received a message from her child's school. Dear parent, kindly note that school fees for the new term has been reviewed. Reviewed, that word alone is enough to make her heart skip. And then she scrolls down, and there it is, an increase. Again, she sighs. Not because she doesn't want the best for her child per se, but because she's already stretched thin. School fees, rent, feeding, transportation, all of this she's already considering. And now, an increment. She just whispers to herself, how did education become this expensive? And that is the question we're asking today. Not just how it became expensive, but why. And most importantly, how can we handle this? What can we do about it? When education starts to feel like luxury, there was a time in Nigeria when education was seen as a basic right. Public schools were the foundation. Private schools were the exception. But today, that narrative is changing. Education, especially quality education, is beginning to look like a luxury product. Something you access based on your income level. Something you budget for like you would do for a car, a house. And if you break this down, in many urban cities like Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, private schools from hundreds of thousands to millions per term. I'm talking about both nursery and even early years. And that is just the tuition fee. Now, if you add things like, developmental levy, maybe ICT fees and uniforms, there are schools that that use 4 to 5 different kinds of, different uniforms. The first, you have the Monday wear, Tuesday wear, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm telling you, literally, there are schools that have different days or different uniforms for different days. So you consider that into the cost. You consider textbooks. Yes. Don't forget that. Unlike we used to have it in our time where you use a textbook and then your younger ones inherit from you, today's schools do not have such a system. You have schools that, present textbooks as workbooks, so you're writing basically in every textbook, and it's impossible to pass it down because that textbook is where the teacher literally marks, gives you some kind of grade and all of that. So there's nothing like, inheriting textbooks anymore. You also consider extracurricular activities, clubs. Schools now have to pay. There's parents that have to pay for clubs in schools. So I'm just painting the picture, all of this picture to say sometimes you're not just considering the tuition fee. All of this other expenses are part of the school fees. And then suddenly one child's education begins to look like a lifetime investment plan, literally. Now multiply by 2 or 3 children, and you know the reality of what I'm talking about. You begin to understand the very weight parents are carrying. And yet, despite this cost, parents are still paying. Why? That brings us to the next truth, and that is the silent fear driving parents. Now, why would a parent decide to invest in their children? Some parents are doing it, purposefully. We cannot also take away the fact that some parents are not doing this purposefully. And that's why we're having this conversation on EduShift, because it's about education with purpose. Now, some parents are not just paying for education. Some parents are paying out of fear. The fear that their child may be left behind, the fear that their child may fall behind, the fear that their child may not be able to compete globally, the fear that their child may not get the opportunities they themselves never had. And perhaps the biggest fear of them all is the fear of public schools. Yes. I don't know how many Nigerian parents would proudly say, I don't mind my child going to a public school, because we're going to get to that. Let's be careful here. There are still good public schools, right? There are still very good public schools in Nigeria. There are still passionate teachers in Nigeria. There are still success stories of children that pass through these systems, yes. But we cannot ignore the reality that many public schools are struggling today. You walk into some of them and you find overcrowded classrooms. You find outdated facilities. You find low teacher morale. You find inconsistent quality. In some cases, learning becomes survival per se and not, development. And when parents see this, they make a decision from, whatever they see. Even if it hurts financially, they make decisions from it. Even if it means they sacrifice all their best to get their child or their children in a better environment, they are willing to do all of that because of the fear of their children ending up in these public schools. They choose what they believe is better. I mean, every parent wants to give their child the best. And this best to a lot of parents is private schools. But a private school's solution, or are they, response to a failed system? Now let us shift the perspective a bit, because it's easy to blame private schools and say, oh, they are very expensive, they are exploiting parents. But let's ask more honest questions like, are private schools the real problem, or are they responding to a problem? Because the truth is, private schools did not rise in a vacuum. They rose because there was a gap in quality, a gap in trust, a gap in the confidence of our public government institutions. And like any system, when there's any gap whatsoever, someone has to fill it. Someone has to feel it. Maybe they feel it and begin to exploit, but can we take away the fact that they are feeling it? No. So private schools began to step in when our government institutions failed. And the reality is that we have, more excellent ones today than our government. We even have private schools that are better than other private schools. So when the others are not doing well, someone tries to fill in the gap and gets better and better and better. And whichever it is that you can afford, you go. Whichever it is that meets your need, whichever it is that you meet your pockets, your financial capacity too, is something that is considered, right? So let's talk about their reality. The reality of running a private school. I know that I'm going to have school owners watch this, as much as I'm going to have parents watch this. So it's important to strike the balance. Now, running a quality school in Nigeria is not cheap. Education itself, quality education is not cheap. This is not to say that the private schools have the right to exploit us. It's to say that the government needs to do better in putting quality into our public institutions. So let's think about it this way. If you want to have a standardized school, you think about hiring qualified teachers. These qualified teachers should have competitive salaries. Yes. Maintaining facilities too is one key aspect of running a private institution. You need to invest in up-to-date technology. You need to ensure that there is safety and there's security. Yes, you need to create a conducive learning environment, a classroom that you can sit and go hours and hours learning, because you have the ACs working, you have fans working well for you. So these are part of what you consider. All of these things cost money, if we are being realistic. So when the fees go up, it reflects all of this and not just always greed. Yes, sometimes it's basically those schools trying to survive. And the tension lies if the schools, charge less, quality drops. And if they charge more, access becomes limited. So there is a dilemma that most of these private institutions face at the end of the day. So how do we strike the balance? Now, the real crisis is quality, or the real crisis actually, quality education inequality. If we talk about what this is really becoming, it's not just a cost issue per se. It is an inequality issue, because what we're seeing is slowly creating, two different types of education system. One for those who can afford it, who can afford exposure, who can afford technology, who can afford global opportunities, and another for those who cannot afford it. And this is where the danger is, because education is supposed to be the great equalizer, the system that gives every child, hope, regardless of their background, regardless of whatever it is. It gives them a fair chance, right? So when quality education becomes expensive, the balance is thereby broken. And over time, it now affects employment rates, it now affects, economic mobility, it now affects our national development. Because, a nation that cannot provide or that cannot grow when only a fraction of its population is fully equipped, no nation would grow when it just tends to one aspect of its citizens. So that is why this inequality has to be balanced in a way. So let us not also forget the child in all of this, right? The child is the center of it all. Now, the child whose parents are struggling to pay fees is the one affected. The child who hears conversations like, "We have to manage this term, let us see how next term goes." That child feels the pressure more than even the parents. Yes, I dare to say that. So sometimes those children carry guilt that you don't know. Sometimes they feel like they must overperform to justify the sacrifice that the parents, put in. They feel that they have to give their all. Some of them grow up with so much guilt as children, even adulthood. And they grow up to feel like they are living their lives for their parents to pay them back. Whereas, I understand the part of giving back to your parents, but it is also their responsibility to do some things. They brought you into this world. You did not come by yourself. So the pressure has to, you have to, as a parent, you need to be sensitive enough not to mount so much pressure on your child. And on the other side, there are also children who cannot access these opportunities at all. Yes, as much as there are some parents that are able to go out of their way to give it to these children, some children cannot. Same country, different realities. Now, what do? We need to rethink education funding. Yes, because education funding cannot remain a burden carried mostly by parents. We need a stronger government investment in both public-private partnership, in education-focused policies. We need we need a government investment, government intervention in teacher welfare and reform. We need them in infrastructure development, because everybody has their part to play. As much as private individuals are willing to invest so much into the system, bringing their A game into the education system, the government has to partner to make that possible. Because when you put all the weight on private individuals, it makes the grassroots suffer. That's the reality. So government schools must not just exist, they must also be able to compete. They must inspire confidence again. And because when public education works, the pressure on private education reduces. So the competition is less, right? And the entire system becomes more balanced when the competition is less. So redefining quality, if we want to redefine quality, we must challenge something right? What is quality education to start with? For me, you might want to define it as, expensive buildings, foreign curriculum, British curriculum, technology, or do you want to define it as effective teaching? Do you want to define it as critical thinking? Do you want to define it as character development and real life readiness? Because sometimes we confuse appearance with substance. True quality does not always have to be loud. Sometimes it is found in a committed teacher. It is found in a structured environment. It is found in a culture of discipline and an environment that breeds curiosity in a child. So as a parent and as a society, we must begin to ask deeper questions. It shouldn't just be about how much is the school fees, but what value is my child really receiving? We go for a quick break right now, and when we return, we'll wrap up the show. But let's join the kids on the edutainment segment. Please stay with us.
It's edutainment time on EduShift.
This holiday, I'm gonna wake up by 10 a.m. I'm gonna watch TV from morning to night. No stress, but enjoyment. I won't even look at my school bag. Hey! Ha ha ha! First thing in the morning, you don't hear your head. Before you even wake up, you see yourself holding a broom.
God have mercy upon us.
You think you rest. Next thing you hear, come and help me. Pass me the remote. Even the plates you did not use, you will wash them. Holiday is sweet until mommy remember you live in the house. I think mommy is watching this. Have you heard the word petrified before? What does it mean? It means very scared. So scared that you feel frozen. Oh, like when the lights go off at night and I can't move. Exactly. That means you were petrified.
Petrified means extremely scared or terrified, so frightened that you feel frozen like a statue.
Whenever you feel petrified, take a deep breath and tell your body, I am safe.
When you're petrified, use brave words. Don't say I can't, say I will try.
You can silently say, I'm feeling scared, but I'm okay.
Don't forget to ask for help when you need help. Mommy! Daddy! Daddy's coming! Petrified means to be scared. The word petrified means when you're incredibly scared or terrified. Petrified means when you're afraid or scared. You can sometimes freeze like a statue. Petrified means to be scared and to be terrified. Hello? Petrified means to be scared. Petrified means to be scared or terrified. It means to be scared of something. A scorpion. at the saber-tooth kitten. It's a cat but has two teeth going out of its mouth, and it scares people. A snake. Yeah, because I'm always petrified about them because anytime they come near me, I always think they want to fight. A lion and a fox. A bull.
Fantastic performance there by our kids. I'm always proud to see the wonderful things that they are doing. It means we can get more, right, if we put in more. Okay, so we've been talking expensive education, rethinking education, funding, and quality in Nigeria. And I am trying my very best to be as balanced as possible on this very episode of EduShift, right? Because I know it's a topic that is sensitive, yes, to both parents and school owners, teachers, every kind of education stakeholder, yes, a very sensitive topic. So if we come back to where we started, you know, if we talk about parents, which we factored into the conversation, the mother, the father, the child also being a part of the family, trying to navigate a system that feels increasingly expensive and sometimes overwhelming. Education should stretch us, but it should not break us. Quality should be pursued, but access must not be sacrificed. Because at the end of the day, the strength of a nation is not in how well the few are educated, but how many are given the opportunity to learn well. And what we can even make of that education is not about sending our children to school, but how they can critically think, how they can solve problems. So the next time you want to invest in quality education, you should be sure that you're getting, you know, what you want to get from education. And when I say what you want to get, I mean you should be able to get a child that thinks critically, a child that, you know, is built in both character and knowledge, not just to go to the aesthetic environment, fancy buildings and all of that. And at the end of the day, your child is not able to solve problems. So this balances quality, quantity, whatever you want to call it, but I mean, we need our government to resurrect, to reinstate, to invest more in our government schools. And as well, private schools should make sure that, you know, they give value to every parent that invests, that do not mind to pour in so much into their system. I hope you've been able to get one or two from today's episode. Personally, I have been enlightened. I don't know about you, but thank you so much for joining me on EduShift today. I still remain your host, Priscilla Obasi. Until I come your way again, remember, when we rethink education funding, we're not just solving a problem, we're securing a future. Bye for now and see you on the next one.
They told you education is the key. They said, go to school. But why are so many graduates purposeless and jobless? On EduShift, we spot the cracks. We challenge the educational system. Torn between science, arts, and commerce, we bring clarity and answers to your questions, and we light up the path for a generation ready to stand out. Come enjoy discussions with educators, employers, and counselors. Let us fix this problem of career misalignment and help you discover yourself. EduShift, only on Global TV.